I apologize. I'm going to record this.
Okay. Usually we keep all our GIS on our computers, and we started the stormwater GIS back well before my time in 2003 with the NEP collecting data on all the features. So when I got started, I picked up from where they left off and built upon it. So this represents the last 5-6 years of work that we've been doing with collecting GIS data and the stormwater data. The other thing that's come up is that the MS4 permit requires way too much information that could fit on a paper map. So it just wasn't practical anymore. So we needed to come up with a different way to address that. So this lets you see everything that the MS4 permit asks for, plus photographs of some of the pipes, outfall reports, and I think there's a way that you can actually download the GIS from here. And this is supported by Mass Maritime as part of the project there. So I'm going to close the splash screen. And this is where it comes up when you enter it. You can go directly to the Buzzards Bay Stormwater Collaborative website. If you click in the corner there, you can zoom in and out with the plus and minus sign, or you could use your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. If you are working on a device that has a GPS, you can use the My Location button, and then that will center the map with where you're located. My PC doesn't have a GPS. It doesn't make sense for me to do that. So there's a scale bar down here, give you an indication of scale. And then there's two buttons up on the right-hand side here. One is for the legend. And from what you can see on here, we have catch basins as the blue squares. I have the pipes as blue lines, manholes as orange dots, and then outfalls. All the outfalls are the red dots, and the ones that are town MS4 outfalls have a green circle around them, also with a unique facility ID. And then there's some other features that I'll show you later. The other button gives you a layer list in which you can turn layers on and off. So we can show you, I can turn catch basins off, makes it look a little bit simpler. There's other things that by default are turned off. Let's see. The other thing you're seeing on the map is the imagery background, which is provided by Estuary, along with the road names. And then I added a couple of Mass GIS layers like the hydrology, so you can see the wetland symbols. And impaired waters is also one of the things I added, but I have that turned off right now. So one of the things that you can do is a search, and you can do a street name, you can do an entire town. I'm going to just zoom over into Wareham. I'll make sure that's Wareham, Mass. And then it zooms into the entire town. If I go back onto the layer list, I can turn on the urbanized areas. So now you can see what the jurisdictional areas for the MS4 permit are. That only works if you're zoomed out far enough. If I zoom in further, you can see on the list that the urbanized area gets grayed out because it will turn off automatically when I zoom in. So that's just something that I set it up to work that way. Also, when you zoom out to a certain level, some of the other features may disappear. I'm just going to turn off the urbanized areas for now. The other thing we can do with the search box is we can go to a specific outfall. So if you know the facility ID, it'll bring you to that outfall. This one's also in Wareham. It's at Bessie Park, where we have one of our design projects. So you can see the stormwater network that goes into that one outfall going up the road over here. We have some stormwater catchments, preliminary catchments that we have for most of the towns. So you can turn, by default, that's turned off. I'm going to turn it on, and then you can see the catchment for that particular area, as well as the catchments for other outfalls. So one of the other things you can do is you can view the information in table form. So if I go to the all the stormwater outfalls and I open the table, view attribute table, at the bottom it shows it all the attributes associated with the outfalls. In this case, it filters to the map extent. So whatever's in the view of the map is going to be in the table. I just want to show you some of the information that we have for all these outfalls. So we have the municipality, the town it's in, the type it is, whether it's a road cut or pipe or just a simple culvert. And then we also have the listed water that it's associated with, and whether it's draining to the watershed of that listed water or directly to it. And then an indication if it's a town MS4 regulated. Okay, and then I can close the table. All right. Next thing I'm going to show you is if you pick on any of the outfalls with the green circle, the dialog box comes up with the information about that outfall. And then we can do a hyperlink to the photograph of it. That one's on its side. Did that change for your screen? No.
It's on its side.
Oh, okay, but the photograph came up.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing we can get is the report of all our sampling data. So here's another PDF that it pulls up. It says which listed water it's associated with, some basic information. This one happened to be one that we did for the SNEP project. It's urbanized, it's in a sewered area. We have a bunch of samples associated with it, description, the priority of the outfall. And then on the next page, we have the actual data that we collected, the water quality data that we collected. So Kevin, it has a pretty high bacteria level at that particular pipe.
Kevin, can I ask a question?
Sure.
On this screen and on the summary, it said that this was a 12-inch PVC pipe. But when you called up the attribute table, the field with the diameter of the pipe was empty. So I take it the pipe field and the diameter field are different fields, and we don't have all the diameters populated in the database.
Yeah, so you're kind of getting into the weeds here, Joe, but what's happening there is I have data that's in the GIS, and then I have data that's in the water quality database. And I try to keep it existing in just one or the other, but in some cases I have to have it exist in both. And what I've done is because I want these reports to have as much information as possible, I've been concentrating more on the pipe size and material and the water quality database rather than the GIS. At some point, I'll be backloading it into the GIS so they'll match. But as you can imagine, that's actually a really bad thing when you're dealing with data, is to have the same data exist in two databases, because it's very difficult to keep up with that. And I tried to avoid it, but for reasons I don't want to get into, I haven't been able to avoid having the redundancy. So in this case, the water quality database is more up to date in terms of the pipe size and material. And coincidentally, this pipe, I have a 12-inch PVC, but when the engineers looked into it, it's actually, I believe, a steel pipe, and it just has a little PVC insert at the end. But you can't tell that when you're there or from the picture. It does look like a PVC pipe. So I'm just going to close this window and get back to the map. The next thing I'm going to show you is another thing that we have to have, which are interconnections. And I'm going to do that by specifying a road name. West. So here we are in Westport. This is State Road Route 6. And a lot of these neighborhoods actually drain into the state storm drain system. So that creates what's called an MS4 interconnection. So the neighborhoods don't actually have their own outfall. They go into a different permit jurisdiction, if you will. So we try to document those. That usually occurs in a structure, either a catch basin or manhole. If I select on any of those, it indicates, what town it's in, who the contributing area entity is, in this case, the town of Westport, and who the receiving entity is. So wherever we find one of these in our investigations or GIS analysis, that's a different type of feature that we add. And that's something that we have to keep track for the MS4 permit. Technically, the way this works is the town is responsible for the stormwater up to the point where there's an interconnection, and then it becomes a state jurisdiction along Route 6. And I don't have the connectivity information for how it flows down Route 6. I'm going to zoom out to Dartmouth, Mass. And I'm going to turn on the listed waters. So this is a Mass GIS layer that I added to the map document. And what that does is it shows you what the listed, it's a map of all the listed waters. And then if you select on any one of these, you can get the attributes for that particular water. And it even has the relate table for maintainments that you can look at. So I'm going to turn those off. And then I'm going to zoom into a few of these green dots, which are actually treatments. They're hard to see, so I'm going to turn off some of the other stuff. All right, so these green diamonds are treatment devices, and if you select on those, the attribute comes up. It tells you what it is. In this case, it's a tree box. It's in Fairhaven, and then the owner or manager is the person who's basically responsible for maintaining it. Because a lot of these treatments are on private roads, and they have to be maintained privately. This one shows a storm sector. So as we come across those, we're also adding to our GIS. I'm going to go to another outfall. The search box feature is pretty cool. I'm going to turn stuff back on. All right, so now I'm in Westport, and this portion of town is not in the urbanized area. So we do have a lot of the outfalls in other places, and normally, if I select on one of those outfalls, there's no box that's going to come up because I have that suppressed because I just want the green circles to come up. We can enable the pop-ups if you select enable pop-up, and then I can get the information associated with each of those outfalls. And in some cases, I might even have a photograph for it. These happen to be some that we looked at for the SNP project, so we have some data for it. All right. Just a couple more things to show you. Another thing that we added to the GIS are channels and ditches. So if the hydrology layer that we're using for Mass GIS doesn't show a stream like it does over here, we add streams or ditches that we find. So you can see that symbology right here. And in this case, we have these channels. There's an outfall here, comes down this channel, goes into a simple culvert, and then goes into another channel, and then heads south across the bike path into this wetland. And then finally, the last thing that I want to show you is we have metadata for everything. So if you click on the three dots and you go show item detail, takes you to a different page. Then you can select on any of the features. And you can see like a summary metadata at first. And if you want to see all the metadata, you choose metadata. And it will give you all the information about how that GIS was created and what it actually represents. And that's it for my demonstration. Any questions?
It looks terrific, Kevin. I'm thrilled you got the you added the streams and ditches that are not shown on GIS.
Yeah, we're actually just starting. There's a lot out there. But now with with the latest LiDAR data, you can actually pick those out in pretty good detail. And you can see that the state hydrology layer, in some places it's just really far off, like this stream right here. You can see it kind of misses the mark probably by about 20 or 30 feet. There's places where it's several hundred feet off.
Yep. Yep. That's why I'm always nervous when people say they know there are no wetlands, because it says there's no wetlands on the Mass GIS. Does anybody have any questions?
All right, I'm going to stop my share now. You
Okay.
on with the meeting.
Kevin, I just wanted to ask, where is this site available? The links to this?
The flyer that Liz had sent out earlier has the link for it,
Okay,
and I can add the link into the chat too.
okay, maybe it's something that we could put up on the BBAC website as well? Or your
We can do
website?
that. It's also on the Buzzards Bay website. So on the Buzzards
Okay.
Bay website, you go to the stormwater page and it has a bunch of tabs, including the interactive map. And I can put it on the BBAC website as well.
Fantastic, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Oh, you're welcome.